Hi, Nick Wagner here, Stewart and Stewart Attorneys. We're sitting down. I'm sitting down talking about some things and some questions that come across our desks with Darron Stewart. Darron, one thing that can get kind of complicated, I suppose, but one of the questions I get is, hey, I was in a wreck on Monday, but I was also in another wreck a month before that.
Right.
That can get kind of tricky. How do you deal with it?
Well, it's not unheard of that people have been in more than one wreck or more than one incident where they had an injury.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about car wrecks, I had a car wreck 6 months ago, and then this wreck happened.
Yeah.
Neither one were the client's fault. It's they were just the wrong place at the wrong time. But the injuries are similar. So if the client has finished treating and been released from that first wreck 6 months ago, it's a bit of a non-starter. That's a very clear, isolated,
Cut and dry.
claim.
Yep.
Well, nothing's cut and dry in the law.
That's true.
But they would be coming to us if it's cut and dry. But you can argue that that's your window there. That's what's related to that first wreck.
Yeah.
And then the treatment that fires up after the second wreck is really the second one. But where it gets to be a challenge is when there's overlap.
Yeah. So if they're still treating at the time of the second wreck from the first wreck.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it becomes very tricky in the doctors. And you get the finger point. In fact, I had a case a couple years ago where it was less than 30 days between the wrecks. I think it was 20-some days between the wrecks. And the injuries were very similar. It was a neck-back injury. And so, the first wreck happens and they're treating with the doctor, aggressively treating with physical therapy and dealing with some things. And then the second wreck happens.
Yeah.
And it may have even been a wreck they were on the way to the
getting
doctor.
treatment.
To the doctor. But they had the second wreck, which wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
And so, the first wreck is saying, hey, we're responsible for everything after our wreck. But as soon as that second wreck happened, that's on that second wreck. We're not responsible for it.
And then what's the second wreck?
Second wreck's saying, we're not responsible for anything.
Yeah.
Everything was caused in the first wreck. This wasn't bad in the second wreck. So what I did in that case was I filed suit against both drivers, both wrecks. And the defense attorney screamed and yelled that you can't do it that way, can't do it that way. And the judge agreed with me that it's a jury decision.
Yeah.
The jury gets to hear the testimony of our client. The jury gets to hear the testimony of the doctors talking about what they think is related, how it overlaps. And then they get to decide what percentage goes on each one of them. And they'll sit there and point fingers at each other,
Yeah.
which only helps us,
Yeah.
quite honestly.
Yeah, it does.
So at any rate, if you've had a prior wreck, don't let that deter you from bringing forth if a second wreck happens and you have similar injuries. That's where you get into this muddy area.
Yeah.
So you should be fully compensated for both. It's a matter of having the doctors differentiate percentage-wise what's related to each wreck.
Yep.